When a lot of us crack open the Bible, what we see is this huge collection of ancient writings, right? There are stories, laws, poems, prophecies, all from different times and places. And honestly, it can feel a little disconnected, maybe even kind of confusing.
But what if there's another way to look at it? What if the Bible isn't just a library of separate books, but one single epic story written by one author? That's the huge question we're going to dive into today.
All right, so let's get into it. The idea here is that from the very first page of Genesis, all the way to the final words of Revelation, there's this one thread. It's subtle, it's patient, but it is absolutely there, weaving its way through every single book and connecting it all into one cohesive story. So, where do we even begin to look for this thread? Well, we start at the beginning, in the earliest parts of the Bible. You can almost think of this first section as a story being told in shadows, because these ancient texts are just packed with hints, clues, and incredible moments of foreshadowing.
And it starts almost right away. Think about it. Back in the garden, right after the fall, when everything seems broken, God whispers this incredible promise that one day the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head. It's this beautiful prophecy wrapped up in poetry, hope hidden right inside the consequence.
And this theme of a divine rescue just keeps going. Take the story of Noah. He's carried safely through this massive judgment, right? Not because he was a master shipbuilder, but because God provided the ark. See, it's not just a story about a big flood. It's a living picture of protection that comes from grace and a rescue that comes from trust.
Then, the story really picks up speed. Abraham gets called out of nowhere, and God makes this incredible promise to him under the stars. He says he's going to build a future through his family line. It's like God is setting the stage for this massive plan of redemption, and he's chosen this one family to carry the secret for the rest of the world.
Or what about Moses, standing at the edge of the sea, leading this terrified group of people out of slavery? The waters part, and bam, freedom. But again, this is so much more than just a political story. It's a powerful living metaphor showing us really clearly that salvation comes from God's power, not from our own strength.
And what's so cool is that once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere in the Old Testament. The entire system of animal sacrifices, it was constantly pointing to a bigger, ultimate sacrifice. The priests who went before God for the people, they were foreshadowing a greater, perfect high priest. Even the best kings of Israel were really just faint reflections of a true, perfect king who was still to come. So the bottom line from all these early stories, the big takeaway, is this one recurring theme. Over and over again, Scripture shows us humanity, left to its own devices, just cannot save itself. God has to be the one to step in. And that idea right there, that God must intervene, brings us to the massive turning point of the whole story. In this next section, we're going to see how all those shadows, all those whispers, finally step out into the light. This is where the promise becomes real.
You see, at just the right moment in history, everything changes. The quiet whispers that began way back in a garden, they become a clear, audible voice. The shadows that stretched across the pages of the Old Testament, they finally take on substance. The promise that was passed down for generations, it becomes flesh.
And here it is. This is the secret. That thread we've been tracing, the one that weaves through every single page, it's not some complicated idea or a new philosophy or just another moral code. It's a person. It is Jesus Christ.
Isn't that incredible? For thousands of years, God had been painting with symbols, with hints and shadows, and now he reveals the masterpiece. Every single prophecy, every sacrifice, every deep human longing for rescue, it all comes together and finds its meaning in this one life.
And that life, of course, leads to the cross. But the cross isn't the tragic end of the story. It's the absolute fulfillment of the entire divine plan. It's that one moment in all of history where perfect justice and endless mercy meet and embrace, where the one person without sin steps into the place of sinners, not as an accident, but as the plan from the very beginning.
And this is the secret that really changes everything. We often think of religion and the Bible as the story of us searching for God. But the deeper truth, the great plot twist of Scripture, is that it's actually the story of God relentlessly searching for us. From the moment in the garden when he calls out, "Where are you?" all the way to the empty tomb, it's always been about his pursuit of humanity.
So, okay, this is a huge cosmic story that spans all of history. But what does it have to do with us, right here, today? Well, this is where it gets personal. Because this isn't just some ancient history lesson, it's a story that is being written for you.
It means that your life isn't just a random accident. It means that your struggles, the things you go through, are not invisible to the author of this story. And it means that your questions, your doubts, they're not a problem. They're welcome. Because you are a part of a much bigger story, one guided by incredible patience and compassion.
And because you're a part of this story, there's an invitation that's been extended to you. And the amazing thing is that this invitation, the core message of the entire Bible, has never, ever changed.
It's just one simple word: come.
And this part is so important to hear. The invitation isn't for some future cleaned-up version of yourself. It's not for when you get it all together or when you finally have all the answers.
No, the invitation is for right now, exactly as you are. Because grace isn't something we wait for until we feel worthy. Grace is what finds us right where we are and makes us worthy.
You know, when we finally start to see the Bible this way, not as a bunch of disconnected books, but as one unified story of God's love, something amazing starts to happen. All that confusion begins to melt into clarity. Fear starts to give way to trust, and faith stops feeling like an obligation, and it starts to feel like a real relationship.
Because here's the thing. The great story of Scripture isn't finished. It's still being written, not on old scrolls, but right now, inside human hearts, inside your heart.
You have always been a part of this story. You always will be. So I guess the only real question left is this: where do you find yourself in this story?